after the search ended. The questions didn't. In the days following the discovery in the Decker children case, one thing became clear. The public knew what had happened, but not how the story would end. And that's where this case took a quieter, but far more unsettling turn. What happens when the cameras leave, but the investigation is far from over? Following the tragic confirmation that the children were found deceased, law enforcement significantly limited public updates. The daily press conferences stopped. The detailed releases became shorter, more concise. Details became harder to come by. Officials repeatedly emphasized that the Peak investigation was still very active, and that sharing certain information could jeopardize the integrity of their work. They assured the public that the case was their top priority. Behind the scenes, the work was relentless. Forensic teams were re-examining evidence. Detectives were meticulously reconstructing timelines, and different agencies were coordinating their efforts. They were building a case, piece by piece, far from the public eye. But on the outside, the silence grew. The lack of new information left a vacuum, and speculation began to fill the void. For the community that had been so invested in the search, this quiet phase felt confusing, almost like a step backward. And in cases like this, silence often means something critical is still unresolved. From the beginning, authorities identified the children's father as a central figure in the investigation. He was publicly named as a person of interest, and his image was widely circulated. But in the days that followed the discovery, official confirmation of his location, or lack thereof, was not released. Officials reiterated safety messaging, urging the public to remain vigilant and to report any information, no matter how small it seemed. What stood out to many observers, and what fueled much of the public discussion, was what wasn't being said. There were no announcements of an arrest. No confirmed sightings reported by law enforcement. There was no sense of closure. All the public had was the knowledge of an ongoing, high-stakes investigation and a major, unanswered question about where the key person of interest was. The silence from official channels was deafening, because in an investigation this serious, every missing detail matters. Every piece of unconfirmed information adds another layer of complexity to an already heartbreaking situation. So, why do updates in major investigations like this one suddenly slow down? It can feel frustrating for a public that's desperate for answers. But from a law enforcement perspective, it's a strategic and necessary part of the process. Limited communication can signal several things. First, it often means that complex evidence is being analyzed. This could be digital forensics from phones and computers, or physical evidence from a crime scene. This analysis takes time and requires precision. Second, it could mean that investigators are quietly following up on sensitive leads. They might be conducting interviews or surveillance that they don't want to publicize, as tipping their hand could cause a suspect to flee or destroy evidence. Third, authorities are often waiting to confirm every piece of information before making it public. Releasing premature or inaccurate details can not only compromise the case, but also erode public trust. Legal experts often note that maintaining the integrity of an investigation is paramount to ensuring justice can eventually be served in court. So while the public waits, investigators move carefully and deliberately. And in that waiting period, the absence of information can feel just as heavy as the initial shocking news, because the next update, when it comes, could answer everything or raise even more questions. Despite the slowdown in official updates, public attention on the Decker children case has not faded. Far from it. Online search trends for the case remain remarkably high. Social media groups and online forums are filled with discussions, theories, and shared grief. People want to understand not just what happened, but how it reached this point. The questions that haunted the community from the start are still being asked, now with more urgency. Was there a warning sign that was missed? Could this tragedy have been prevented? And the biggest question of all, what happens next? The lack of an arrest or a clear resolution keeps the case at the forefront of the public consciousness. Law enforcement officials have given no indication that the case is considered closed, and until they do, the story remains painfully open. The community and the wider public are left in a state of suspense, waiting for the next development. Because an unfinished investigation means the final chapter hasn't been written. For now, the Decker children case sits in a holding pattern. It is active, it is ongoing, it is unresolved. Authorities continue their methodical work away from the public view, building their case one fact at a time. The silence doesn't mean inaction. It means careful, deliberate progress. And when the next confirmed detail is finally released, it will likely redefine everything we think we know about this case. A single announcement could change the entire narrative, answer the biggest questions, and finally set the stage for justice. This isn't the end of the story. It's the pause before the next reveal. Thanks for watching. Comment if you want the next part of the story.